Ano ai me ke aloha. Welcome, welcome. Here we are. Yet another one of our Hui Aloha Kīholo Aloha Friday Live. And gosh, nice to see some of the folks that we have on. Uncle Darrow, yay. Pa'ahana, yay. Hi, Barb. Many others joining us. Thank you, thank you. We do have a really cool Aloha Friday Live today. I think most of them, all of them are pretty cool. So here's yet another one. We've got two of our titas joining us live from the Loko. Hi, Max. But we've got Rebecca Most with our partners of the Nature Conservancy. She's live, Loko side, pond side, if you will, right there at Loko o Kīholo. I'm coming to you all from my hale. And we have our Hoa'aina, one of our Hoa'aina cousin, Lehua Kamaka, actually in the Loko, as you folks can see. I'm sure all of our eyes are gonna gravitate toward Lehua's picture, her video there, as she's literally in the Loko. Our topic today, our focus is on Kuapā, Lokoi'a fish pond walls, and some other related, you know, topics that, well, not topics, but things that are related to Lokoi'a, Kuapā, and whatnot. Sister Becca is going to teach us a cool little way to remember the different stones of a fish pond wall of a Kuapā. But hi, Becca, you want to say hi to everyone?
Aloha, it's great to see you guys. I can actually see our friends on video, but it's just a really beautiful day down here at the fish pond, and I'm happy to do this alongside Kule and Lee.
Awesome. Thank you, Becca. We lost you there for just a little bit, but I'm not sure. You're loud and clear most of the time. Anyway, cousin Lehua, aloha mai.
Aloha, kakayakano.
Kakahiyakano.
Coming from in the cool waters of Loko o Kīholo.
Beautiful. I'm gonna take a minute, if you folks don't mind and can grace us. We want to actually invite you to, you can pin Lehua's video. Thank you to our two titas, Monica and Nahaku, who are kind of running this. They're totally giving us our tech support and helping us along here. But so they tell me you can pin Lehua's video by going to her screen. You press on the three dots and you can press pin video. And that's gonna allow you to really see only Lehua and Lehua's video as she's gonna take us through our live. The ladies put it also up in our chat and whatnot. So if you so desire to really only have Lehua's screen showing, and you can be there literally, right? Be taken into our live kilo with her, as we always start our Aloha Friday lives. But I'm gonna kind of let everyone do that and just let Lehua take it for a bit for our 5-minute kilo with her in Loko o Kīholo. We're gonna really be focusing on looking at the pond walls and the work that we've done. But nevertheless, everyone, cousin Lehua, here we go for our kilo. Mahalo nui.
Ai, mahalo nui. Ekalamai. So here you can see, I'm in like in the midways of the pond, and I think this wall here, it's almost been 2 years since Kule will share on this when she gets that mic.
This was actually one of our bigger Ho'okua days, Becca. You probably know the exact month. It was several months ago. We had a big ho'okua, and this section that Lehua is paddling past. I don't even remember. There's probably 50 or more of us working on this wall. Just shout out to so many folks who come and whose hands touch this fish pond wall. But I know I was in the midst of a few of our pu'ukohola, alakahakai boys, amas, keola, analu, and some others. But we had done, they were working on that steps. There was a steps that they had made for us to come down to that raft that you saw. Nevertheless, as Lehua takes us, now we're kind of coming around to where Becca is, just about, but I'm not sure. It might be the sun, Lehua, and the angle, because the wall, we can't see. I mean, we can see the wall, but it's a little dark. I think the other angle that you were at a little earlier gives us, oh, I think that's
Okay.
Becca. Hi, Becca.
Yes, that's Becca.
One thing to point out, if you can look at the wall where cousin is paddling past, we can see white within the wall. We want to call that our attention to that. That is puna, or mortar, made by cooking coral. Literally, it's ancient cement, ancient Hawaiian cement, and we still continue to learn the process, how to make puna. We experiment. We're actively experimenting on how to make that puna. But man, makahana ka ike for sure. By doing, one learns, and we have no recipe to follow. We have some oral history testimonies, but we really still don't know how to, at least I can speak for myself, I don't know how to make that puna yet. We continue to learn. Nevertheless, cousin, you want to take it back?
Okay. Maybe we'll be in a little silence for a moment. And we
Hikino.
can look at the type of the wall. I'm sorry I came from this angle that you can't really see that clarity that we had earlier. But I want to get across here to this side of the Loko and show you this wall here that Uncle Sunny and Ku'ule and her daughters, being a family get together. And how's this angle? So of course, by watching, one learns, and watching Uncle Sunny with Ku'ule and her daughters, and building this wall here, which is on the Makai side of Kīholo. Here we have a turtle that's resting.
Becca, could you let us know how, I know you always relate it to football fields. In our restoration of the Kuapā at Kīholo, how many football fields have we now restored lengthwise as far as the Kuapā?
So I know, I think it's about 4 or 5 football fields. We've restored 1,300 feet of rock wall around the fish pond since we began that work in 2016. And so that started, I see some people on the call today with a group called Hui Malama Loko Ia that we're a part of. It's a statewide group of fish pond practitioners. And in 2016, we hosted them here at the fish pond. And we had our kickoff event where they helped us retrieve the rocks that had been pushed into the pond during a tsunami and get us ready to start rebuilding our walls. And then since that time of 2016, we've accomplished rebuilding of 1,300 feet around the fish pond perimeter. It's pretty impressive. All from volunteers and community, many people on this call today. So it's looking good around here now.
Mm, indeed, indeed, indeed. So many folks, so many people. Just testimony to when you put out the kahea, the call, and so many people heed that call and come and show up. Where cousin is going by now, we kind of remember it by groups. We had Honoka'a football team with dad a few years ago. She passed that section. That was Honoka'a football team. We're kind of coming into this area now on community work days. And again, once again, our Pu'ukohola team, Willie Boy folks, our Kaloko Honokohau team, Benson, Kendall, Tyler folks at Honokohau, bring their guys across this whole section right up to the bridge where cousin is coming and into a little turn. I believe that's cousin Benson, Kendall, their workings all over here, Willie Boy. Just so, you know, I want to name them by name and Ekalamai because I know there's so many others. I'm just probably visualizing the people that I was right next to, and that's the ones that I'm seeing, but there's so many others. Cousin is kind of coming through this little channel, and back in the day, right where she's passing, there was a makaha. This is about the time of my dad's childhood. There was two right there. Right there was one makaha, and there was another on the other side where the other bridge that cousin came over, not the bridge that she just passed, but the bridge before that. What you see in front of you, this island, again, never existed. It's just deposits and deposits of large waves, tsunami, tidal waves. So in my dad's childhood, this Aina, this land that you see right here, was non-existent. It was all Loko, which was why we have efforts to, you know, kind of let the natural processes help out the natural processes of kind of breaking down that island and whatnot. But cousin is going to make her way out to the Awai, the Makaha, it looks like. But I do want to just mention a couple, a minute or two if we can, in celebration. Today is July 31st. And I just want to bring up in everybody's consciousness and in our awareness, whether we knew or not, today was a day where it's called La Ho'i Ho'i Ea, this restoration. The Hawaiian flag was actually taken down on February 25th, 1843. And there was going to be to roll out into a 5-month occupation, if you will, by Britain. And then an Admiral Thomas, 5 months later, come July, he's going to make his way to the islands. Please remember, Kauikiaoli, Kamehameha III is in rule at this time. Admiral Thomas, you know, there's so many documents, so many things that's happening. Meanwhile, two men, Ha'alilio and Richards, are on their way to different countries, to France, to the United States, to Paris, and they're gaining the support of these mega forces, if you will, countries that deem Hawaii an independent nation, an independent in our own, honoring the majesty, Kamehameha III, Kauikiaoli. And we do, right? They're obtaining all of these, and they're not even agreements, but the acknowledgement, right? The acknowledgement from these people and their governments that Hawaii is a sovereign nation. So come February, that occupying session from Great Britain happens, Hawaiian flag comes down. Well, it is today, 5 months after our flag is lowered, that on July 31st, our flag is raised again. There's going to be a speech by Kauikiaoli, and a grand celebration happens at Kauaihao Church after his speech. But Admiral Thomas, there's we can read his speech, and he is acknowledging Kamehameha III and Hawaii as an independent. Here is where today you might know what is our state motto. It was also the territory of Hawaii motto, but it was this words and this use of this expression was made by Kamehameha III in his speech, he did say, "Ua mau ke ea I ka aina o ka aina I ka pono." Excuse my emotion, but this does stir emotion. And so here it is, this motto comes out, right? The life of the land to be perpetuated, or the sovereignty, the independence of this land is to be perpetuated. Ua mau, continual, perpetual. And just kind of in closing of this, I wanted to bring forward like the definition of ea. Within this motto, Hawaii state motto, ua mau ke ea, I ka aina, o ka aina I ka pono. The meaning of ea, or meanings of ea in la ho'i ho'i ea, is independence, sovereignty, to rule. Ea also means life, breath, air. It means to rise, to go up, to raise. And so today, just that acknowledgement of the raising of our Hawaiian flag in 1843, there in the plains of Honolulu, and the reestablishment of Hawaii as an independent nation. Again, I just offer this out as facts of history, of Hawaii's history, and to acknowledge that today, la ho'i ho'i ea wells great emotion for many of us. But I'm gonna pass it back to Cousin Lehua. Mahalo for this opportunity. Lehua.
I think she's still muted, but we can see her beautiful board going underneath the Milo trees right now.
Yes, she is in the Auai.
Nahaku, I don't know if you want to unmute.
Beginning, unless we were able to unmute Cousin, I'll take it for a little bit. This exact area where Cousin Lehua is at right now, all of these walls on two sides of her had collapsed. This had, well, actually right around here. It had been knocked over by the 2011 tsunami. The wave had come in from that earthquake in Japan. And these right here, these walls. So what is on Cousin's right was actually on her left, and the Auai wall that's on her left was pushed out onto the Ili Ili up above. And a group of us want to say mahalo to one of our board members, Uncle Scott Henderson, got an emergency permit for us to rebuild. Again, kahea was put out. It was mostly, you know, families, large family units came together before lunch. The two walls were up, erect, and pretty much finished right after lunch. The turtles were banging our feet to get in or get out. The pond became really stagnant because of that flow, right? This is kind of the lifeline, that life vein, if you will, of Kaloko o Kīholo. And when it was reopened, we could like hear the celebrations of all of the fish and the wild, you know, the residents of the pond. But how beautiful. Cousin is almost to the outside of the Auai, those walls, and now we're going to puka into the ocean. There is the kai, the lovely bay of Kīholo. And the last thing that I want to comment on these walls right here is that the genius of our kupuna, right? Nui ka ikena aka Hawaii, their intelligence. This Auai wall at Kīholo for this makaha is not straight. It's not a straight shot in. The walls are actually keke'e. They are zigzag, if you will. And again, when you kind of look at that, this is what is decreasing, if you will, the impact and the flow of the waves. And each time it hits kind of the sides of the walls, it again just decreases. I think the word might be velocity, or, you know, it kind of slows it down. So it's not just this straight shot flow right on in, but nevertheless, I think this is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Becca, perhaps I will hand it to you, Cousin Lehua. Oh, hang on, so sorry. what Cousin Lehua is showing us right now, I want to let you all know that we, again, as the stewards partnering, right, there's collective stewardship here. This needs to be repaired. It was in need of repair months ago, but the pandemic came, kind of all sorts of things. But I do want to say that we are in celebration, and we really want to thank our brothers, our partners across at Kaloko Honokohau, for they will be coming in on Tuesday, in a few days from now, next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, these parts of the Auai wall. Again, our state archaeologist, Tracy, right? There's many things that we gotta do, that we do in preparation for stuff like this. And so we'll be in on Tuesday and Wednesday repairing that very part of the Auai wall that Cousin Lehua just showed us. Oh, and here's a good view. You can see how the wall is not straight, but it is more kind of this meandering keke'e action. Again, mahalo to the kupuna for leaving us things like this that we can then learn from and figure out and whatnot. But I feel like I've been talking a lot. I'm going to pass it to Becca and let Becca talk more about the Nature Conservancy, their acquisition, the fish pond walls and whatnot. So Becca, over to you.
Aloha, thank you, Kule. I also wanted to introduce everybody to the newest member of Hui Aloha Kīholo that's on the screen next to the haku. It's Monica Frazier has joined our ohana. And so welcome, Monica. So nice to work alongside of you. But I work for the Nature Conservancy side by side with Hui Aloha Kīholo and all these amazing wahine that are on the call today. It's truly a pleasure. It's been one of the joys of my career and my life is to spend time at this fish pond. And so what we wanted to do today is teach you just a little bit about fish pond walls. And behind me, there's an example of an old wall. It was, parts of this wall were built by the Hine family during the ranching era down here. And so you'll see some sections of the wall on the side over here that have a coral mortar, that old mortar that Ku'ule was talking about before that we don't know the recipe for, but is still holding this wall strong almost 100 years later. And then further on this side, we have this new section that we recently restored a few years ago. Part of that 1,300 feet we were mentioning around the pond that we've been working to rebuild from our damage from a tsunami and just damage from time and goats. And so this section is really beautiful. Yeah, we had over 50 people working, all part of our Hui Loko network that Barbara on the call helps coordinate. And so side by side, we started work around 7 in the morning. We started right here, right where the coral mortar ends, and continued north. And by 12 o'clock, we were completed 300 feet in one day. And so just such a powerful testament to our networks and our fish pond practitioners and the knowledge and skill of our dry stack masons, teaching both of us like me, who are amateurs, the skill of building these beautiful walls. So Kaloko Kīholo, this fish pond, is a style of fish pond called a Loko pu'one. So a Loko pu'one is actually a pond that's set back a little bit from the ocean. So we saw the Auai that Lehua took us down on her board. And so there is a channel that connects it to the ocean, and we see tidal change, and we have brackish water in the pond. So it's a mixture of salt water and fresh water from our punavai. But it's about a 3-acre pond and kind of meanders back, kind of set back from the coastline a little bit, but connected through that channel. There's lots of other types of fish ponds in Hawaii, and just to call out another name is a Loko Kuapā. And this fish pond actually used to be a Loko Kuapā back in the day when it was originally built by, or rebuilt by King Kamehameha and his men in 1811, 1812. It was a massive fish pond. I think it was about 600 acres. And it had a wall that extended north towards Waikoloa, which was almost 2 miles long and just massive. And so the ingenuity of that, of King Kamehameha and his men to build such a massive wall and the caretakers that malama that pond. It was quite a feat. But we know that Pele was ono for his ava and came down in 1859 and consumed most of that fish pond. So around me, there's all these pahoihoi lava beds of that 1859 flow. And what remains is this beautiful 3 acres. So the pond changed from a local Kuapā to a local pool one style in 1859. Did you guys hear me okay? Everything good? Giving me a thumbs up? Okay, cool. So I just wanted to honor that, through these generations that have been caring for this pond, King Kamehameha and his men, and then the many other generations, the Hine family, the Keakealanis, all of our extended ohana with our volunteers in more recent days, and our community that continues to care for the pond, that there is just a lot of mana in these rocks, a lot of energy in these rocks. There's been many, many hands that have touched these rocks. And by the perpetuation of that practice, by us rebuilding the wall, we're able to keep that knowledge alive. Because there's a lot of skill in building a wall like this. Right here, it's about 4 feet tall, but what you don't see is on the other side, when Lehua was paddling by, it's about 10 or 12 feet tall. And so to stack the rocks properly, there's all these lessons that the dry stack masons have taught me over the years about just the angles you put the rocks, the different functions of the rock in the wall. And so I just want to acknowledge that it does have this immense amount of knowledge of generations in the past that have been passed down. And we're just so honored to continue to perpetuate that practice with our ohana today. So I want to teach you a little bit about those functions of the rocks in the wall. And I wanted to teach you the different names of 4 types of rocks in the wall. The first one is the base stones here at the bottom. I don't know if you can see with the sunlight. There's some nice examples of big stones at the bottom. And you'll see they're all in a nice straight line. So we were really lucky because those stones were still there when we came to restore it. And so that lets us know what the original lineup was. And just like this nice straight line, the name of the stones that form the base of the wall, their name is niho. So niho means teeth, or that's one translation for it. And so the niho stone, just like your teeth, you want them hopefully to be nice and straight. Our niho stones are our nice straight foundation that show us our lineups of the wall. So the base stones are called niho. And then moving up on the wall, you'll see these nice flat faces. All of these like kind of blocky stones. I actually have an example one right here. So this is a good example of a stone's function that's building the face of the wall. It has nice sharp edges, like 90-degree angles, lots of different ways you could place this in the wall. And so the name for this stone, just like the face of the wall, the name for this stone is alo. So alo translates to face. And then the next stone, this is a good example of the next stone. The next stone is your capping stones. So if you can see, this stone is nice and thin and flat. And so when we are placing this kind, when I see this kind of a stone, I hold it to the side for at the end when we want to cap the top of the wall. So the name for this stone is papale, and papale means hat. So this is the hat or the cap of your wall. It goes on the top. And last but not least, these small little stones, they might be small compared to the other ones. They are very, very important. Their function is the glue that keeps the wall together. So they usually sit on the middle of the wall or between the larger stones inside the wall. And by filling all the empty space, they're actually adding a lot of strength. So if a wall gets hit by waves, it can absorb that shock of the wave. So these are like the glue that keeps the wall together. And their name is haka haka. So haka haka, I think haka means space, if that's right, Kuole. So haka haka are the little rocks that fill in all the spaces around the wall. You can correct me on that translation if I'm wrong. And so those are 4 different terms for the functions of the wall, but we have a silly little thing to help you remember that, because I know that was a lot of information. So if anybody feels like getting up and moving around, because we've all been sitting on our computers way too much the last few months, you can follow along. And so these are just some really silly little fun motions. This is what we teach our kids when we're teaching them about rock walls. And so we're going to start out with the first stone. If you remember, the translation means teeth. And the motion for this stone, for niho, it's kind of like pretending like you're picking up the biggest stone you could possibly pick up. So you like lift a leg up and you go niho, like that. So niho. And then the second stone, if you remember, was the face of the wall. And so its motion, like a beautiful face, is alo, alo. So again, niho, alo. And then third, we have papale. And so just like you would take your hat off, say hello to somebody, papale is the motion. So we go niho, alo, papale. And then last but not least, because these are in some ways some of the most important rocks in the wall, we have haka haka, like you're holding two small stones in your hand and you're holding it nice and strong. So let's review one more time. Niho, alo, papale, haka haka. All right. That is what I wanted to share with you today. I'm happy to answer questions, or I can toss it back to Kule and see if she wants to add anything on to that. I think you'll just need to unmute yourself, Kule.
Aloha.
Can you hear me?
Hang on.
There, I hear you
Am I
now.
on now?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like mute, unmute, mute, unmute. Thank you, Becca. So our niho, alo, papale, haka haka. I love it. And you're correct. You know, haka haka does mean holes or space or vacancy, things like that. And when you look at those haka haka stones as filling the holes, the vacancies, the pukas, if you will, the space in between the fish pond walls, again, it just adds to it being a really strong stone wall, right? So 4 stones that comprise Kuapā wall. Something else that we see of the niho stones is that they're actually buried in the ground. You're gonna dig a little bit. And that's how you're gonna set your niho stones, that they become, in essence, immovable, unshakable. The niho stones are meant to bite, as kind of the purpose of our teeth. Our niho is to bite and grab onto things. So the niho stones, usually from what we see, instead of just being set on the ground, they're going to be set in the ground a bit. So just a little bit addition of that. So thanks, Becca. Again, we're going to review, but I wanted to offer all of us some information, and this information is usually tucked within the archives, either documents in the State Archives, Bishop Museum, and so not all of us are just kind of privy to this sorts of, you know, ike, this beautiful amount of vast knowledge. So I do apologize. I will be reading some things. Some of the things that I will share out with you folks are called Boundary Commission testimonies, right? Great Mahele, post Great Mahele, commission is made, and people are going around, folks within the government are going around to look at boundaries. They are right, cartographers, map makers, all of these sorts of things to distinguish and find out what are the boundaries of these ahupua'a, the traditional land systems of Hawaii. What are the boundaries, and who would know the boundaries but then the people of these places. So there's going to be what are called informants. Informants are going to lead people through, and they're going to actually be sworn in. You have to be sworn in to then testify for these Boundary Commission testimonies. So I'm going to read for you a few Boundary Commission testimonies that we have. And one that's near and dear to me is an interview. If any of you, you know, maybe a lot of you who are on are familiar with Kīholo, where the hind hale is. So we're talking north end. We can peer across to Kaloko o Kīholo from that point in front of where the current Hainhale is. The name of that place is Kauai Point, and it was actually named for a man, Kauai, who I actually fall in his genealogy. The land that my ohana lives on in Pu'uanahulu today was in part and in large part due to Tutu Kauai's great-granddaughter, my grandmother Makalua, who leaves it to my grandfather. So all of these big-time connections, these genealogies of Kīholo. So for me to have retrieved this and see and find this interview from Tutu Kauai at Kīholo, they interviewed him at Kīholo. To find it in the Bishop Museum was beyond special, if you could imagine that. But he's going to talk about, he's going to name a konohiki, right? So we got to, again, we're looking at traditional systems of management. Your ali'i nui, the big ali'i, right? Kamehameha, Kalaniʻopuʻu, these big ali'i nui. And below them are going to be ali'i. Sometimes they're looked at as kaukau ali'i or ali'i lesser chiefs. And below those lesser chiefs will fall konohiki. So I want to give for you folks, and again, these are all land management systems, if you will. But I want to read for you, I don't know how many, right? We all probably know the word konohiki. But when you look at the meaning of this word, I think, you know, today we might look at, oh, a konohiki is a steward. A konohiki is a land manager. Things like that. We try to define it in that way, which isn't bad. But I want us to really look at the two root words of konohiki. Wa, kono, right? One is that first word, kono, and hiki. So when you look at that and you put together this meaning of what this person was, his status, right? His kulana, his status, and his all-important function in land management. But here is what kono means. Kono. To invite, to ask in, to entice, to prompt. That's what kono means. Hiki means can, you're able to, the ability, possible, okay, certainly, surely, to get to reach a place, to arrive, to arise, to fetch. Lots of meanings there, but look at that. And then you put it together, konohiki. So to look at the function of this person, the konohiki, who is set upon a land, an ahupua'a, and that his function is to be able to entice, to invite in, to ask in, to entice someone, to prompt, to make things possible, to arrive, to have the ability to be able to. That's pretty big shoes to fill, to hold this title, konohiki. And he is the one who will call kapu. He knows his place the best. He will say, this fish on kapu for this length of time. He will release a kapu. When aku fishing is on, opelu is off. He'll open the opelu season, he will close the aku season. The konohiki had big, big responsibilities. So I'm going to read for you a very short excerpt. The next things that I'm going to read are all very short, not lengthy at all. But I'm going to bring forward Tutu Kauai's interview that I got from, I don't know if you can see the Peppa, but here's the header, right? Bishop Museum, Peppa. They made the copy one of the times. I could live in Bishop Museum. Oh my God, I just love that place. But this interview was done in Kīholo. They come to Tutu Kauai, Kona, Hawaii, August 30th, 1883. This is what he says. He's going to open his interview by saying, and I quote, Va'akelehonua was the konohiki of the Kīholo Pond in the time of Kamehameha III. Kamehameha I had all the men of Kona, Kohala, Hamakua bring stones and build the Kīholo fish pond wall. They took the stones from two old heiau, namely the heiau of Me'eu from that of Puhipayo, and then formed a line to Luahinevai, about 2 miles south, and brought more stones. That says a lot. When Becca said earlier that these stones were touched by many hands before, indeed she was correct. Tutukawai right here tells us about the stones themselves. Some of the stones came from 2 heiau in Kīholo. That is huge. To know that any one of our hands, perhaps, and we know not the rocks, right? So it could be any of the rocks that you, Keli'i, carried. I see you, brother. Love you. It may have been a rock that he carried, I carried. Any one of us who was there for a ho'okua and building the fish pond wall, to me, you just feel of its essence, of the mana. And now here, Tutukawai is telling us, oh, the stones came from 2 heiau. Here it is. Let me get it again. Puhipayo and Me'eu. I don't know how many of us even knew had a heiau or 2 heiau at Kīholo. So this kind of ike, right? This knowledge that comes. I'm going to move and scoot right into a few. I think I got 4 Boundary Commission testimonies. Very short, lucky if they're a couple of sentences each. But this one was really cool for me because one, it was a wahine. It was a grandmother she's sworn in. And this is actually found in, we retrieved it from the Queen Emma lands. We're doing research in that. And so it says testimony. Here is grandma's name, Kaneahiku. Kaneahiku gives her gender, wahine, sworn, and says, in parentheses, we're gonna find it says, quite an elderly woman. This is her testimony. I was born at Pahua Kohala, Hawaii. I helped carry stones at the building of Kīholo. I was married before the battle near Keoho in Kona, in which Kekuakalani was killed. I was born the year after Kanihonui died in Oahu. I know the lands of Kauai. I lived there a great many years. My husband Mahi was buried in the pali of Honokua. She's going to go on to talk about boundaries. She knows the boundaries of Kauai first and Kauai second. Gives the name of where she lived, Ali'ipoa, where the church now stands. Anyway, a beautiful testimony of Kaneahiku, who she herself, now an elderly woman, is testifying to carrying stones to build Kīholo, the Kīholo wall. Here is another, August 13, 1873. So this is again post what we talked about earlier, the Laho'iho'i'ea. This is 1873. Person's name, Aoa, sworn. I was born at Puawa'a, North Kona, at the time of Keua. I lived there until a few months ago when I moved to the adjoining land of Pu'uanahulu. I am Kama'aina and know the boundaries. Lono, an older cousin of mine, now dead, pointed out the boundaries to me as the different lands had different konohiki and different koele, agricultural fields. The land of Puawa is bounded on the south by Kaupulehu and Mauka by the same. On the north by the land of Pu'uanahulu and Makai by the sea. The ancient fishing rights of the land extend out to the sea. Okay, another person, Nahiali'i, sworn. I was born here, Pu'ua'awa, at the time of the building of Kīholo, around 1810, and I lived there until 1865 when I moved to Kauai. Keopu and old Kama'aina, now dead, told me the boundaries, and afterwards I went and saw them. He's gonna push on and tell you about the boundaries. Then I have this last one. His name is Keli'i Hanapule, sworn. This is June 14, 1876. So Keli'i Hanapule, sworn. I was born at Kīholo. I do not know when. I now live at Kohanaiki and know the lands of Kaupulehu and its Makai boundaries. My kupuna told them to me. Then his testimony continues, and he's gonna just walk us right through the boundaries. You go Puawa, fence, Huli north to that tree, there should be big stones. Then he's gonna say thence, Huli Makai, you're gonna get to Kiahua Kamali'i. He just is gonna track you right through the landscape. All of these boundary commission testimonies, that's what they're doing. They're giving us what is where to let us know Palana'aina, the boundaries of the land. But each one of them had a deep connection to Kīholo. They were either born there, they carried the stones there, they speak the names of places which are the boundaries of this Ahupua'a. And so this is my my offering of this kind of documentation that again really resides in those volumes and hundreds and thousands of pages in our state archives and our and at Bishop Museum. So I hope that was good and ono and maikai for all of you. But let's return perhaps to Becca. And Becca, I'm thinking we should do a review, although it's simple, kind of just for easy motion and whatnot. But maybe we return to kind of that and get us moving a little bit more, to remember the 4 stones that comprise of a fish pond wall, and I'll send it back to you and Lehua at the Loko.
Okay, yeah, and thank you for sharing those things you found at Bishop Museum, to call out those people's names. One thing before we do the review of the functions of the fish pond rocks, it was reminding me, just thinking of all the people that have been caretakers and stewards of this place. And a teacher once encouraged me and fellow students to find our function, right? And that we all have a function. So like every rock in the wall is important. It has a function, no matter how small it is. The haka haka stones are just as important as the niho stones. I just was reminded that all these people through history had their function, and so an encouragement for us all to either find our function or sometimes re-find our function, because functions change through our lives as we change. But yeah, when I work on the rock wall, I often think about that. I think of all of the pieces of the puzzle that make it work, and how it just so mirrors our community. And so just an encouragement to re-find or find your function. But with that, I can do a quick review for everybody. So the first stone is the base stone, and its name is Niho, a big Niho. Second stone is Alo, the face of the stone. It's a nice, pretty face, Alo. Then Papale, your hat, your capstone. And Haka Haka, the little stones that hold the whole wall together. Haka Haka. He was clapping from the pond. Lehua, do you want to say goodbye? You want to unmute yourself?
Mahalo nui, everybody. Thank you for joining us today, and I really appreciate doing what I could for you folks. Mahalo ku'ule for all the knowledge you always fill in us, and mahalo Tita Becca. I got your back. Like literally.
I know, you're like literally behind me right now. I'm going to come jump in there with you after this. Hello, everyone. Great to see everybody's faces today. Thank you for joining.
Hi, Hemauni now paha. Anyone has any questions or thoughts? Keli'i? I know. How do you unmute? Yes. Ah,
Bottom left, I think.
bottom. Oh, there you go. Oh, you look like you're unmuted, but we cannot hear you. No worries, brother. Yeah, you can type them in the chat maybe. Okay, he'll type it. I do wanna, if Becca and as brothers, kind of doing that, anyone else that wants to chime in, but I thought that it would be beautiful for us to do Pahiahea Loko right before we sign out and whatnot. And we were on Oahu. I believe we were all in the room together. Keli'i was probably there. Ilay, just many of us, part of the network that Becca's talking about. Hui Aloha, sorry, Hui Malamaloko. And these lovely younger generation Kia'i had brought this Pahiahea Loko to us, if I remember right. Lehua chime in at any time. I believe it was Kawai and Hoku and Manoa who had raised this Pahiahea Loko. I'm not sure if they composed it. I don't know that back history of it, but this Pahiahea Loko calls out and gives each one of us who were present in the room a chance to lift the name of our loko and our ahupua'a. And so I'm going to encourage us to look at and doing Pahiahea Loko. Keli'i, I see your question. Kaneahiku's testimony, we're looking at the year. Let me try bring this up and I'll try and find it. Becca or you guys want to hey, Keli'i, brother, we can hear you.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, I just wanted to thank you so much for those testimonies. Those are so, they just really bring to life, like you said, the landscape. And then for you folks in particular, the Palena Aina. But yeah, I was Becca, both you and Becca were talking about Kamehameha Kahi, right? Having commissioned the walls to be built, that local to be built. So I was just curious, I didn't catch it on Kaneahiku's one, but I heard 1870s for the last few that you talked about. So I was just curious if there was a year for Kaneahiku's testimony.
Yes, we do. It's saying that Kaneahiku appeared on part of the applicant and presented her letter dated January 11, 1876 from Her Majesty's land agent authorizing him to act for him, Charles William of Hamakua, appearing for the agent of Crown Lands. But yeah, so it was January 11, 1876 that Kaneahiku gives her testimony.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Mahalo nui. That's amazing. And especially that she's a wahine. I love that. I love that. Mahalo.
Oh, yeah, no. Oh, yeah, no. Indeed, a wahine. Sometimes, you know, when I work alongside Dad, of course, I don't have the physical strength as you folks, as Kane. But that when Dad says, you know, hapai this pohaku, and I'm like, okay, yes, we hapai this pohaku. And you know what is funny is one time he had two of my daughters, Kamehana and Nahe, and he had them bring this big stone, and you know, he's telling them, roll it. If you guys cannot hapai, just roll it to Papa and whatnot. And just in like a split second, he's gonna say, ask your kupuna for help. Just like that, you know. And I, on the drive home, I really talked to the girls and I said, you know, that's huge. Don't let that just go right over you. When Papa's saying, ask your kupuna for help, that's literal. That's for real. Your kupuna might not be here physically in the flesh for you, but oh, believe me, they can help you. So don't be like, oh, what was Papa talking about? Or why he tell us that? That's for real. Ask your kupuna for help. We all do. And realize that that kind of connection is unsevered. It's always there. We request, they come. We invite, they arrive. So yeah, but thank you, Kelly. And I see many others on there who help Kīholo who help us, and she's just so, we glorify Kīholo and we love her and do the best that we can for her, by her. But it's not just us, it's community, it's the village. So to all of you on this screen that I can see, and those that I can't see, and folks that perhaps aren't even on, our leo mahalo, our sincerest mahalo for your touch point or touch points on Kīholo. It is of much gratitude. We just cannot say enough the outpouring of aloha and how much we appreciate that. So on behalf of Kīholo and all of us, the Nature Conservancy, our Ohana Nature Conservancy, Hui Aloha Kīholo, many other partners, we just thank you all. Oh, you know, okay, so shall we pahea loko then? Becca, Lehua, Keli'i, you want to join? You want to do yours? Do you remember all the lines?
Ule.
Yes,
I can
Barbara.
share my screen with the words if you want me to.
Oh, thank you,
Put it up.
darling.
Yeah. One sec.
Barb, here's another one of our Ohana, the Nature Conservancy. You see all of this.
Oh, the host has to allow me to.
Oh, our host, Maneka Nahakuhiki Paha. So if we can,
Yeah.
this is a chance that, and if anybody else, I'm seeing Keli'i on my screen, and there might be others from other Hui Loko members. Okay, Barb, I see that you're now the host. But what we do is we fill in our we've got the blanks, we can fill in our Loko. So if you know you're on with us and you are a part of a particular Loko, I mean, I'm not sure Blake joined us on one of our Aloha Live. Brother, if you're on, you can unmute and just have your chance to lift up your Loko. I'm not sure, again, I don't know who else is on, but we'll just offer that time and space for all of us to lift up our Loko'i'a. Here's the words. Thank you, Barbara. Oh, look at us. We're getting fancy. But yeah, no. Here's the words. We can follow along. But Becca, Lehua, we can we go start with us, and then at least I can see Keli'i, and then we'll just pause and see if anybody else chimes in. But here we go. Pahea loko, mai ke po'o kapuna mai, he mai,
Hey, mai.
o kaloko o
Kīholo.
kaloko, o pu'ua
Ke'ewe.
ke loko
Loko ia kuone no
no
ia.
ia. Kahe
Kahe koloko.
kahe
Kahi kawai.
O he'eia ka loko. O ke alohi ke ewe. E loko i'a kuapā no ia. Kahe ko loko.
kahe
Kahi kawai.
All righty. Maybe no one else is on, so we'll conclude with that last line of the hui a oya. Kahe
Kahi
Kahi
kawai.
kawai.
ola
na
na
loko.
Loko.
Eola.
Ola.
Woo! Thanks, Barb. Oh, yay. Well, we see you back there. Okay, everyone. Well, we're kind of right at 10:30. So again, mahalo, just really, really mahalo nui for joining us. We're so graced and humbled by everyone spending an hour with us. We'll do another next month. And until then, stay tuned. Everybody stay safe. Mahalo to this la ho'i ho'i ea and our haupu that recall and that recollect of this time in Hawaii's history. And then for all of us, right, in the present, we just mawana all of our work. We continue on, move forward, imua. Thank you. Happy Aloha Friday, everyone. Ke aloha nui, a kako pakahiapau. Ahui ho. Aloha nui.
Aloha.